I'm Wesley with TreeNewal, and I'm here with Corey Herpel, one of our arborists, and we're here to talk about construction damage. We're in a urban setting, and there's lots of development and redevelopment going on in town, and one of the big problems that we have are construction damaged trees.
I agree.
So what kind of things can we do to help trees that are in construction areas?
The critical step that's often overlooked is the pre-construction and the planning phase of things. We run across it all the time where people build their dream house and they buy this lot for this particular tree. They build their dream house around it. Well, they kill the tree in the process. Whereas if they had got an arborist involved in the planning stages, we could have educated them a little more on what the possibilities of survival were or realistic expectations. Whether or not that changed the design or the plan, it could, but a lot of times it would manage expectations on that particular site.
Right. I think it's a good point that you make that being proactive in how you manage around this tree through the construction process makes a big difference in the result that you get at the end. Things like doing fertilization and soil conditioning prior to construction and starting to improve health and vigor. What are some of the other things at our disposal to help protect trees through this process?
So we always want to try and leave the area directly around the tree, especially under the drip line, closest to the trunk, as undisturbed as possible. So we always recommend putting out protection fencing. Minimum would be the plastic orange fencing. We prefer chain link fence. That way we know it's a semi-permanent. Basically, we're trying to keep people from driving under there, people from piling stuff under there, just trying to keep that area under the tree as undisturbed as possible.
Mm-hmm. So if we don't do that, what are some of the consequences for the trees?
So you end up compacting the soil potentially, and you take what was a nice fluffy permeable area, and then you kind of smush it, and you basically make it concrete-like, which decreases the infiltration where the water can't get in. You can actually damage the roots physically. It just affects every aspect of the tree.
Yeah, you get a lot of trenching to install underground utilities and grade changes and contractors dumping out chemicals under the tree, the painters washing out their oil-based paints and paint thinners under the tree, and none of that's good.
Brick stockpiles.
Yeah, the best course of action is to have a hard barrier that's going to keep them out.
Absolutely.
Another thing that's really important is the communication between the contractors, the homeowners, and all the people that are involved in this construction process, and the arborist, so that everyone understands what the expectations are.
Right. A lot of times we get called out during construction, and we'll do one of our property visits or consultations, and the customer will say, well, this tree is very important to me. Well, there's a skid steer already parked under there. There's the bricks, the concrete mixers under the tree. Whereas it goes back to our first point about planning and, pre-construction, is if everybody's on the same page before even ground is disturbed, we know that's a no-go. And then communicating effectively with the property owner, the general contractor, or construction manager, depending on the size of the project, everybody's on the same page with what the expectations are.
I agree. I tell my customers that when they are starting a construction project and they tell me how important this tree is to them, I encourage them, you've got to tell your contractor how important this is to you, and you've got to make sure that he really understands how important it is to you. Otherwise, you're asking for trouble.
I kind of jokingly say that the contractors don't like it when the homeowner or property owner gets the arborist involved, because we sometimes make it more difficult for them because we're kind of speaking on the tree's behalf.
Right. But what we're trying to do is make sure that we're protecting that tree for the homeowner.
Trying to protect that asset.
Yes.
And it's a lot of stuff, it's simple that nobody realizes, I didn't know that was bad.
Right.
And that's most of the time.
Right. And so we just need to educate them so that they understand. And sometimes the contractors don't understand, and we can educate them too.
Absolutely.
So after a construction project has begun or even been completed, monitoring and caring for that tree afterwards is really important, because as we know, the signs of construction damage don't always show up right away.
Like we talked about already, the pre-construction or planning stage is one of the critical ones, where we can do some pre-treatments, prior to any disturbance. Then we can monitor and treat during the construction activity or disturbances. And then afterwards, we have a whole treatment plan that we can put together to try and increase the chances of survival, increase the tree's health, because there is a window after construction, to where the tree could show signs of stress. And if we're monitoring it, we can manage those levels and potentially stop decline, or even prevent it and bring the tree back to overall health.
Right. So what are a few of the things that we can do if we're monitoring as arborists and we see that the tree's going into some distress after a construction project? What are a couple of things that we can do to help with that?
So they range from, growth regulators pre-construction to kind of slow the tree down. It kind of hardens it off, makes it more prone or more tolerant to disturbances. We have deep root feeding programs where we can feed the tree and the roots, aerate the soil. We have insect and disease controls that, if needed, or as prevention. So we have a lot of tools at our disposal.
Right. So the important thing, though, is to monitor, because if we don't catch it soon, the tree can go into a spiral of decline. And like I tell my customers, it's much easier to save a tree that's healthy than one that's already in decline.
Absolutely.
If you've got a construction project going, or if you've had one done recently and you've got some trees that you feel are distressed or in danger of becoming distressed from the construction, come see us at TreeNewal.com or give us a call to set up a consultation with one of our ISA certified arborists.